Which games are getting the most out of the PS5 Pro? Well, I have a list of every enhanced game, so let's break it down. Hello there everyone, Aaron here from Push Square with a list of around 50 games that are getting enhancements thanks to the PS5 Pro. Now, some of these we know a fair bit about how they're being upgraded, some we don't know so much, but these are the confirmed games so far, and there's actually a bit more than I expected and some really surprising games in here as well. First up, we've got the poster child of the PS5 Pro, which is The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, the PS4 game. But this game is getting a fairly substantial update, with one Pro mode coming to this update with 4K 60, PSSR upscaled from 1440p, which is supposedly sharper than the base performance mode and smoother than the base quality mode. But generally speaking, still a bit better looking as well. We've had some graphical upticks. Now this will extend to The Last of Us Part 1 remake as well, and presumably at this point it's going to be the same updates as the Part 2 remaster, but we don't have concrete info just yet. Moving on, we've got Demon's Souls, one of the best looking games on the PS5, if not the best looking game, but now it's going to be even better with the Pro. We've got same again, targeted 60 FPS with PSSR upscaled 4K and enhanced details, so now you don't have to choose between that cinematic 4K and the smoother but slightly murkier 1440p. Then we have a real technical showcase with Gran Turismo 7 coming at us with 4 different modes. That is one that prioritizes frame rate, one that prioritizes ray tracing, one that runs at 8K, and one that runs at 4K 120Hz, all of which are using PSSR. This is one of the first games to actually be utilizing 8K on the PS5, but of course most of us normal people do not have access to 8K monitors or televisions just yet. That's not the only game utilizing 8K though, because we also have Formula 1 24, which again is taking a 1440p render quality and upscaling that to 4K with PSSR at 60 frames per second, in addition to modes running at 4K 60 with ray tracing, 4K 120 and 8K 60.Moving on though, we have a couple of nice entries here with Horizon Forbidden West and Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered. These are getting just the one Pro mode, and it is said to be quite a balancing act between the quality and performance modes, with increased texture details and increased internal resolution using PSSR, and that is going to extend to the Zero Dawn Remaster, which releases at the end of October this year. Then we've got the Until Dawn remake, our first in the list that we really do not have that many details about. There's a good chance that by the time you're watching this, Until Dawn is actually out. We know that this is focusing on cinematic cutscenes. We've seen how they're upgrading the game through comparisons to the 2015 original. We're only going to assume that the graphical detail is going to be bumped somewhat with the Pro. Then we've got Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, another technical showcase which was actually front and center during the PS5 Pro reveal. Again, we've got a single Pro mode with upscaled 4K with PSSR. Now this one does actually have a slightly higher internal resolution. It's got increased particle and background details, but it does come at the expense of lower crowd density in the background. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is actually one of those ones that I think a lot of people were really keen to get a Pro mode. It's one of the first ones you'll think of because that performance mode on base PS5 was very murky, quite blurry actually. Although the quality mode did have its moments, it just didn't have that smooth frame rate. Now though, we're getting a massive sharpening of image quality, supposedly surpassing that of the quality mode on base PS5 with that one Pro mode using PSSR. Hogwarts Legacy is another big showcase for the Pro. This time we've got 3 different modes: Fidelity, Fidelity with Ray Tracing, and Performance. Now the Fidelity modes are still going to run at 30 frames per second, but Ray Tracing is improved. I know that's not what a lot of people wanted to hear, however, putting these things side by side with the base PS5 and the PS5 Pro, you can see this is a pretty substantial upgrade graphically. Alan Wake 2 was one of the best looking games on PS5 in my opinion, even with its somewhat lacking resolution on the base performance mode, but it's likely that we'll see some form of internal resolution bump with ray tracing. This one I'm going to be holding out for. The recently delayed Assassin's Creed Shadows is a behemoth of a game that Ubisoft actually upgraded its engine for so that it could bring its feudal Japan to life. correctly. Now, we don't know much about how this will upgrade. It was included in that original launch lineup, but now of course the game has been delayed into 2025. Then we've got the Callisto Protocol, a game that during our best PS5 graphics list, many of you actually commented asking where that game was, so I'm sure that if we do another, that will be included, especially if we get a Pro Enhanced version here. Next up, the Crew Motorfest. A really delightful surprise. I've recently been playing this game, and with this mode we're going to be getting PSSR upscaled 4K 60 with increased load distances and shadow distances, but apparently it is tough to tell at speed. However, having played the game recently quite a lot, the difference between the quality and the performance mode resolution wise is extremely noticeable. So I'm really looking forward to this upgrade. Hopefully the return of classic BioWare, a pro version of Dragon Age, the Veilguard is on its way, and no doubt this will help bring the fantasy world to life in stunning detail. Dragon's Dogma 2, another one that you're gonna think, that is a game that needs a pro version. Here supposedly we're getting 55 to 60 frames per second with VRR inside the 60s and a locked capped 60 frames per second outside of cities. Just having a stable frame rate on its own is going to be worth the upgrade here. Frenetic action and tons of enemies to swipe away at. Dynasty Warrior Origins is another game yet to come out on the PS5, but it's already confirmed for our PS5 Pro Enhanced version. We've got a few sports titles now. We've got EA Madden 25, EA Sports FC 25 and EA Sports College Football 25. All of these games are already really nice looking games. I'm assuming we're just going to be seeing some graphical bumps to the fine little details, whether that be the tufts of grass or the details on a player's strip. Next up we've got Empire of the Ants and the First Descendants, with the latter really going to benefit from that stable frame rate with a higher resolution with its fast third-person shooter combat. Enlisted is a really surprising one, as a game that's actually a few years old at this point. It's getting a Pro Enhanced version as well. We then have Fortnite, which has steadily become a technical showcase on the PS5 over the years, especially since it made that switch to Unreal Engine 5. So I'm really looking forward to see how it can push things that bit further with a Pro Enhanced version. Lies of P is what I'm actually really looking forward to. This was a game that you had that tough choice, performance or quality. It had such a moody atmospheric setting, but it did have fast-paced combat, so more often than not I was choosing the frame rate over the resolution. Hopefully with this pro version I don't need to make that choice anymore. Another upcoming game, Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, is getting a Pro Enhanced version, as is Marvel Rivals, a game I actually kind of struggled with to spot enemies. Maybe we're getting a little bump in resolution. A stable frame rate here is certainly going to help. But moving on to a real looker, we have Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. This is already really being showcased as like a big powerhouse graphics example, and I can't wait to see how that's just bumped that a little bit more with the pro version. One I didn't actually expect to see here, especially with Tekken 8 and Street Fighter 6 out there, we have Mortal Kombat 1, which is getting a Pro Enhanced version, but these fighting games are prime candidates for graphical bumps, considering all the background details, the animation, the gore, the violence. It's going to be perfect for it. We also have My Little Universe, which was originally a mobile phone game. It has now just been announced for PS5, but why not go the full 9 yards with a PS5 Pro Enhanced version. The Rack of Blade Point is the battle royale where you're zipping around with grapple hooks. It's fast-paced melee combat, so that's going to be an excellent pick for the Pro. No Man's Sky is already really upgraded itself in the last couple of years. Hello Games has actually said that it's bringing some of the graphical developments that they've made with their next game, Light No Fire, back to No Man's Sky. So this has already seen a lot of upgrades recently, but why not go even further? And I'd be curious to see if this actually helps with the PSVR 2 version of the game as well. Then we've got Redacted, which is that weird top-down shooter set in the Callisto Protocol universe. It actually looks pretty cool, especially with this comic book art style. I think this could be an underappreciated gem for the Pro Enhanced list lineup. Now, a couple here that I just wanted to shout out that actually haven't been outright confirmed is Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil Village, and Retrieval. These 3 games were included in a somewhat leaked lineup on Reddit. However, having a look at the store where the PS5 Pro label has basically confirmed a lot of these games, these 3 games did not have that tag, so I can't say for sure that they are coming to the PS5 Pro with enhanced versions. I think Resident Evil 4 in particular really makes sense to have it, but it doesn't say on the store, so we can't confirm at this point. I've seen a lot of places saying that it has been confirmed. It hasn't yet. I'm sure by the time you're watching it, it probably has, but as of the time of recording though, I can't say that it has. Next up though, we've got Rise of the Ronin, a game that actually probably needs a Pro Enhanced version because that is not a great looking game. We also have Spider-Man Remastered, Miles Morales, and Spider-Man 2 all getting that PS5 Pro Enhanced version. We know that Spider-Man 2 in particular is getting that 1 Pro mode, the PSSR upscaled 4K 60, supposedly with a lower render resolution than the quality mode on base PS5, but it is cleaning up the shimmering in the distances. I'm sure that's going to be the same for the other 2 games. We just know for sure that that's coming to Spider-Man 2 just now. Next up we have Spine, This Is Gun Fu, a game inspired by John Wick. We haven't seen too much gameplay, especially on the console side of things, but apparently this is getting a Pro Enhanced version as well. It's labelled as such on the PlayStation Store, as is Star Wars Jedi Survivor and Star Wars Outlaws. I think Jedi Survivor in particular is going to be like a nice bump to really amp that colour of that sci-fi universe. I haven't played Outlaws. I haven't heard too many good things technically. Maybe the Pro will help out. Then we've got Stellar Blade, a really nice looking game, especially with how flashy the combat is with the parries and sparks and crazy animations. I think this is going to be a really nice inclusion for the Pro lineup. Then there's Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. We don't have any concrete details on this just yet, but like the Crew Motorfest, we like to see shiny cars go fast. Then we'll get Towers of Agaspa, which is one of the games recently announced at the State of Play. Warframe, which is seeing a bit of a resurgence with its massive 1999 expansion coming soon at some point. So that's going to be nice with that third-person gameplay. We've already had a PS5 next-gen update, so this is going to push it a little bit further. We also have a couple of surprises here. War Thunder and World of Warships Legends. Okay, we're going to take them. They're in there, they're in that list. And last of all, the final confirmed game we have is Kayak VR Mirage, the only solid PSVR 2 game on this list. Now there was one other VR game included in that Reddit list, but again, it wasn't marked as such on the PlayStation Store. It was called XYCY Cube or something like that. I've forgotten at the moment. But yes, those are the confirmed PlayStation 5 Pro Enhanced games so far. Of course, you can rely on us to be covering this more extensively when the Pro eventually launches. I'm assuming we're going to get plenty of announcements for Pro Enhanced versions on the run-up to launch in November. But anyway, let me know down below the game you're most looking forward to trying out with an enhanced version on the Pro. And while you're there, remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more PlayStation video content. Anyway, thank you for watching, and until next time, I've been Aaron, and this has been Push Square.